Hello and welcome to Mediumship Matters with me, Hannah McIntyre. How are you doing? I gave you the traditional opener today. Sorry, I make myself laugh. I guess that's a good thing. So, how are you all doing? I've had a really interesting time. So I'm getting more and more followers on the delight that is TikTok, which is quite an interesting space to be in. I love it, actually. I love TikTok because people are funny and I love watching all their stupid, hilarious videos, but I do lose hours of my day on there. As an aside. Now, one of the things that's really interesting is one of the videos that I did in reply to a question on Instagram that I repurposed for TikTok about somebody being told by a medium that their dad was trapped in their energy as a spirit attachment has caused a real divide in people. And I find it quite interesting, I have to say, and not as a judgment, because I don't know. When I fully believed in spirit attachments and stuff like that, which hopefully as a listener of this podcast you now know that I absolutely do not believe in any way, shape or form, but when I did, I wonder if I would have been very judgmental of people like me who said there was nothing to be afraid of, because that feeling of being empowered to help spirits move over to the other side and run rescue circles, it gave me a real egotistical boosting hit of feeling like I had a purpose and feeling like I was doing good work for the spirit world. And whether I like that or not, that is how I felt. I felt like I was powerful. I felt like I was strong and doing necessary great work that not everybody could do because I'm a strong one and others were weak. And that is nauseous making, isn't it? It's just horrendous. But that, you have to be honest about the journey that you've been down. So I did this video saying, no, your dad is not trapped in your energy. Everybody moves instantly into the spirit world. What that medium picked up was probably your grief of losing your dad in your energy that would have felt like your dad, but actually wasn't spirit communication. It was just energy. And people got, not everyone, but people got incensed. And it really started me wondering and thinking, why do we want that to be wrong? Like, I can understand thinking, no, there's definitely spooky stuff out there. I've had spooky experiences, and not being open to understanding what those spooky experiences were. I can understand that. But what is it about people where we would rather there be demons and demonic attachments and spirits trapped here than we would there not be? I find that kind of fascinating, don't you? Like, you're talking about spirits as if they are not us. When you are referring to a spirit of an old hag in a graveyard, you are talking about somebody's grandmother. Would you like it if I referred to your grandmother as a demonic presence in a graveyard that was old and hag-like? Would you like that? No, you wouldn't. Would you like to be described like that? No, you wouldn't. Although, I quite fancy being a spooky crone haunting people, but that would just be for fun. But would you want to be described as that? Probably not. And yet when it comes to spirit attachments and stuff like that, people love it. Now, I understand the love of being afraid. Stephen King, as you probably know, is my favourite author. I love horror movies. I get too scared when I watch them, and I have to be very careful because they have a massive impact on my vibration because I get so scared. If you ever want to be scared of a horror movie that isn't scary, invite me around to watch it with you because I squeak at everything. It's the opening credits and there's been some music. I watched, oh my God, what's it called? I watched the trailer for a horror movie the other day, and there was a woman playing hide and seek with a blindfold on, and she asked her children to clap, and 2 hands came out of a wardrobe and clapped. And I screamed so loudly and then had hysterical tears whilst my teenage daughter took the piss out of me, essentially. So I'm not a great person to watch horror movies with, but I love to be afraid. I love roller coasters for that reason, that adrenaline that comes. So I understand loving that, but why would you want that to be real? I don't understand why you would want that to be real. It was such a relief to me when my intellect combined with spirit got me to sort of question, well, who are the spirits in the spirit world, and why are the spirit world leaving them behind, and why, just because that person died in horrendous circumstances, would they not be invited into heaven when I know that there is no judgment in spirit? And how much of this comes down ultimately to the Catholic Church and purgatory and the payment and the buying of indulgences to get your loved ones out of purgatory. I mean, if we really did believe in purgatory, how could we possibly believe that priests would have the power to get God to let them into heaven a bit quicker? It's so illogical to me. But is that where it's coming from? This kind of idea that people get stuck or get trapped, and a lack of intelligence and questioning of people when they are having experiences that are spooky, to wonder how much of it is an actual spooky experience and how much of it is just them feeling something that feels different and then shutting off their valves to only being able to receive that. I don't know, because I know when I was taught about entity release and all of that, I fully believed it. And my original teacher that opened me up to spirit, who I'm so grateful to, she changed my life, but she believed in it, so I believed in it. And she invited me on this course to do entity release practitioner training. And I was so honoured to be invited onto a course with her that it completely inflated my ego and my never-ending need for validation. And the woman that ran the course told us all that she had seen evil spirits, but also told us, bless her, that she had been hospitalised for schizophrenia more than once. And her take was that she was that dark forces had got her hospitalised. But actually, did she just have schizophrenia? And, at the time, if you'd said that to me, I would not have had it. I would have completely said to you, we've got to be careful, we've got to protect ourselves. One of my students who did their own thing, we'll leave it at that for now, really hurt my feelings, one of my big spiritual slaps in my life. She went to my nail lady the other day, and my nail lady said to me, oh, I had another medium come in. And I went, oh yeah. She went, she normally has black, but I managed to convince her to have a different colour nails. And I said, oh, was her name so-and-so? And she said, yes, how did you know that? And I went, I could just feel her energy. And she said, oh, she told me that there's a lot to be really afraid of in the spirit world, and I should be really careful about trying to communicate with my dad. Isn't that bloody awful? Now, I know that person thinks they're doing good work. They are not a bad person. They are not a horrible person. And I know when they were taught by me, that was my belief system too. So I take responsibility for that. But in the 5 years since they left my group, where's been their development? Where's been their questioning? Where's been their opening up to a different way? And they have now built a whole business around telling ghost stories and, doing the kind of dark, it's scary. So they're not going to be open to it being another way, because it doesn't make business sense for them to be open to it another way. But my nail lady has lost her father. Her father is in spirit. She's expecting her first baby. She's going through this massive process of change in her life and missing her dad. And that lady has now put the fear in her of trying to communicate with her dad and trying to ask her dad for signs and trying to ask her dad for presence and for his presence in her life. And that's really sad, isn't it? So I just really would love, if any of you have got a take on this, why is it that we would prefer there to be bad spirits than to actually be proved that there's nothing but love? Is it to do with not wanting to be accountable for our own lives? Because I've met quite a few people like that where they've said, well, I can't change my life because I've got a bad spirit attached to me and no one can get rid of it, and so my life is never going to be good. Is that actually more comfortable than accepting you have the ability to change your life, but it's going to be a lot of work? I don't know. I'd love your thoughts on it. And I'm not judging anyone because, like I said, I was that person. I was the person standing in the light, being the conduit for the angels as I released people from the binds and the spirits that were tied to them. And it was only as I started really working with the philosophy of spirit and into that kind of energy that I could understand it didn't make sense. Well, hang on a minute. You're really intelligent. You're all seeing, all powerful. But you've left that spirit here because they were raped, or you've left that spirit there because they sadly decided to take their own life, or you've decided, graveyards. You've decided to stand beside your grave rather than be with your loved ones. For what reason? And why aren't people asking these questions? So it's been really interesting. And one of the people on TikTok who commented, which I thought was really a fascinating perspective, was, I know that there are spirits trapped here. And I know this because I was in an RTA and my heart stopped and I stood next to my body and watched them work on my body. And I replied with, doesn't that just mean that you were there waiting to go back into your body because you're clearly here now? And they haven't replied. And it's so interesting to me that they would take the fact that they saw their soul, that they were in their soul and they remember it and they had an NDE as a fact that spirits get trapped here. I love it. I love other people's perspectives. I wish that we could have debates with people and proper conversations with people without everybody getting huffy and upset. I've got so many people commenting saying you are wrong. And I say, okay, why? And they say, well, people have had stuff happen. And I go, what people? When? Show me the evidence. And they go, we haven't got any. And I would just love to have really intelligent. It's a bit like the people who say that mediums can't really do it. I have no problem if that's your belief. Absolutely none. Go, you do you, I'll do me. But if your basis for that is just they don't exist because I say they don't exist, it's not possible because I say it's not possible, then that's not really an intelligent conversation, is it? That's just, the internet. But still, I really find, why do we want that to be real? Why do we want to feel like we're being haunted? Why do we want to feel like we're being judged? Why do we want to feel like there is potential and possibility for it? And there's another thing that's coming in here as well. The initial question. Because that, from an evidential mediumship point of view, to say to a sitter, your dad is trapped in your energy because he didn't want to go and he wasn't ready to go, is a horrendous psychological burden for that grieving person, but also a piece of evidence that cannot be proven. It's just shock tactic, shoddy mediumship. If that's the best that you can come up with, you need to be working on your mediumship and taking it further and deeper. Because if you're feeling his energy beside her, is it not just that he stood beside her because he loves her so? Is it not that he just wants her to know that he has never left her side, rather than him being trapped there, making her feel like there's something wrong, that there's something she might possibly need to do to be able to free her dad from being tied to her mortal coil also? just doesn't fit in with my idea of spirit at all. At all. So I wonder. And you know, the funny thing is, I'm open to being wrong because I think it's important to be open to being wrong. And I keep saying to Spirit, you know, if I'm wrong, show me I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. And I don't protect my energy except from other humans. My God, I protect it from people, but not from spirits. I work in my home where my children live and my husband lives and my dogs live. Like, would there not be something? I live opposite a bloody graveyard. Would there not be something happening if something was going to happen? I just don't think it's how spirit work. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your take. I'm fascinated on this. I really want to know what everybody thinks. Let me know. Okay, so on to listener questions and comments. And first up is from Jenny. And Jenny is Jenny Geranix, who's a psychic medium. And she says, Hannah, loving your podcast so much. We have a lot in common and it's so refreshing to hear your validating stories, especially about demonstrations. I've done a bunch, but have had 2 or 3 that I cringe when I think about them because they were heavy, didn't flow. All the things you said about your experiences that you didn't love. It is extremely comforting to have your reality check that it's not just me being shitty. I also want to bring more fun, more of me, more magic, more joy to my events. And just like you, those heavy ones have been the catalyst to push me to see what I needed to see and feel. Thank you for your honesty. I also love the bit about getting people to clap. I'm going to try that next week because when things are heavy and people are holding their breath, it makes so much sense to give them an outlet and an energy shift. I've been in a funk lately with my mediumship and you're really inspiring me to pull up my socks. Thanks from my whole heart. One day I will have a question for you, but this is all for now. Jenny. I love it. I'm so glad, Jenny, and I really hope the clapping helped. Let me know. I would love to know if that made a difference. But this is kind of linking in with what I was saying the other day with it's really hard, I think, to be on the leading edge of mediumship. It's really hard when all you look at is everybody doing it the same way it's always been done. And you have this desire in you, this drive in you to do it differently. So I'm really, really glad that you too, Jenny, are doing it differently, are trying something different. And yeah, you're right. Those horrible heavy nights were just our catalysts, our shifts, our training grounds to get us to understand what needs to change. And I really, really feel for the mediums who are stuck in a space where they need to change, but don't feel they're allowed to or are unable to. I think that must be really, really bloody difficult for them. So thank you so much for emailing. I love all of your comments as always. And now I have an email from Sally. Sally says, Hi Hannah, this is my 3rd time emailing you a podcast question. I hope that doesn't make me a serial pest. You have answered my other questions, so I'm hoping you can answer this one. Sally, you will never be a serial pest. I love questions. I really do. I'm wondering if you can clarify if Spirit can ever answer questions when a reader asks the direct question about whether to take a different path in their life. I know they can answer questions like, can you tell us if Nan actually threw away the horrid vase Mum gave her? Or did you know we played your favourite song at your funeral? But can they help us navigate life and tell us which choice is in our best interest? I ask this because when I'm faced with an important decision, when I'm stuck on it, I will ask Spirit for help to make the best decision for me, to which I always get a feeling of, if you want to do it, then do it. If you don't, then don't do it. And that makes me feel like it's not worth asking Spirit for guidance. Admittedly, I do not have a lot of close relatives in spirit, so I don't have a spirit team who I am familiar with that I can call on. Does that make any difference though? I understand that spirit can't make decisions for us as we have free will, etc., but surely they can help guide us to live a life to our highest ability. I really struggle with this, and at times it makes me wonder why people go on a spiritual journey aside from connecting from people temporarily to their loved ones who have passed to reassure them they are okay and there is life after death. Long story short, will our loved ones in spirit answer questions which will help us live our lives to our fullest potential if we ask them? Or is the whole spiritual connection all about connecting with loved ones in spirit and the feeling we are not alone? Any feedback would be appreciated. Loving your podcast and all of the raw and real experiences you share. It's so nice to have someone who is willing to share their journey and not pretend they have all the answers. Sally. Haha, Sally. This is absolutely the rub, and I love it. I love this question. So, where do I want to start? First of all, I want to say, no, it doesn't make a difference about your spirit team, because whether you have close loved ones in spirit or not, you still have your guides and helpers. So that doesn't make a difference. But you're kind of right about the other stuff. Now, my experience of spirit is with some things, they will help us see the best path. They will help us to navigate. They will show us the choice that is in our best interest. But define best interest, because some of the paths that I have taken have ended in my tears and my heartache and my pain. But they have also learnt in me, in me learning a lesson that has changed the course of my future life. So from a spirit guide perspective, are you going to teach your ward to follow the easiest path or the path that has the most growth that will ultimately end them up where they want to be? And that can be the problem. So sometimes when I'm doing card readings for people, there really are amazing messages. I did one for somebody that was considering applying for a promotion, and Spirit did say it's up to you whether you do or whether you don't. This path, if you do apply for this promotion, it has more of the growth for you. It has more of the fulfillment for you. It's a new expansive area to be in. It's very exciting. But if you take the other path, there's ease, there's more time with your child, there's more time for your partner, and you have to choose which path you want. So they won't necessarily tell you this is the path for you. Now, she chose the one with the promotion because Spirit had shown her or told her in that reading that she was more than capable of following the more difficult path, but there would be times where it would be arduous, but it would be worth it ultimately. So in that sense, they did, but they did still have that kind of nonchalance. But you can follow either path and you will have a nice and fulfilled life. It doesn't mean one is better necessarily. And so this is the problem. So sometimes they will, Sally, and sometimes they won't. And sometimes they will give you the answer that you need to hear to get you where you need to be, but it isn't actually factually correct. So, for example, when they told me that, to go and demonstrate in a particular place, or I felt like it was going to be good, and I was pulling cards and I felt like it was going to be good, and then it wasn't a great demonstration, but it was a great demonstration in the terms of what I learnt from it and how it changed my mediumship. And so now all of my demonstrations, touch wood, are better because of that lesson I learnt in the venue that I didn't like with the crowd I didn't like. So the purpose, I think, of spiritual development is that Spirit will believe in your potential always. So when I am lying on the floor, broken, feeling like I've been spiritually slapped to death, close to tears, feeling just horrendous and like I've been so let down by the spirit world, when I'm in those moments, I know that there is better available to me, and this is just a small moment in a series of what will be a fantastic life. And Spirit have given me that. And the feeling of Spirit and the carpe diem of it, the seize the day, the knowing that it is actually really short and I should make the most of it, does help me make choices that support my happiness, that does make me look at my life in a different way than I did before I started working with spirit. And that, to me, is spiritual development. Spiritual development is understanding that I have the power, I make the choices, I am responsible, the buck stops with me, and I choose in every moment how my life will unfold in the future path. And I have learnt that from communicating with guides. So spiritual development will not give you all of the answers, but it does give you the resilience when you make the wrong choice to know that ultimately you'll be okay. And it does help you to make choices that support your happiness better. So I pull myself cards all the bloody time, every day, every moment of every day. But I still don't expect spirit to do it for me or to tell me the choices. They just really keep me feeling positive about the things that I want and knowing that they are coming. I hope that helps. I'm not sure if it did really. Welcome to spiritual development. Yay! But there we go. That is the path as I see it. Okay, next question comes from lovely Bev. And Bev says, "Hi Hannah, hope you're well. If possible, could I ask a question about young children seeing spirits? My grandson is nearly 3 years old. He can be seen talking and waving to someone in his room on the security camera, yet nobody is there with him. He has started talking about a man called Oz or Oswald. He thinks it might be his daddy. He doesn't know his father, unfortunately. He keeps saying how Oz tries to talk to Nanny, referring to myself. Oswald was my father, my grandson's great-grandfather, who he has never met. Even my own children didn't meet him, so he wouldn't have overheard his mother talking about him. We have shown my grandson photos and he points out my father, clearly saying, 'That's Oz, that's my friend.' Is it just due to him being a child that means he can see spirit, or is this a natural affinity that should be encouraged? Kind regards, Bev." Hey Bev, lovely to hear from you. I hope you're well. It feels like ages since we used to have those lockdown lives, doesn't it? So much has changed. Anyway, in answering your question, number one, how bloody amazing. I love it. And isn't it incredible? Just so incredible and life affirming. So I do think it's just due to him being a child. I do believe that the ability to communicate with spirit is in everybody. Now, within that, a bit like being a singer, there are some people that are naturally amazing singers and some people that can hold a tune. It's kind of the same thing. I think there are some people that have a natural clairvoyant ability to be able to see spirit, and some people like myself who don't. So spirit communication is available to everybody, but I think that your grandson has got the incredible clairvoyant ability where he is seeing spirits, and I hope that that remains because it's super cool. But I don't think you need to encourage it. So I think that for most adults that I teach, what we are doing is undoing their lack of belief in their own abilities. And that has come not just through people saying, no, you didn't see that, no, you didn't hear that, when they've had psychic and mediumistic experience, but also in life, because life just has that uncanny ability, doesn't it, of making you feel like your foundation is unstable and you are not able to do the things that you wish you could. And you're learning to push through that barrier. And so if you don't celebrate Oz, but you just say, okay, great. Or if he mentions him, say, what does he have to say? Or ask him how I can communicate with him better, or just act like it's perfectly normal. Then your grandson will never have those valves turned off that so many people have had turned off by saying, no, of course you didn't see that. Of course you made that up. Don't be silly. So that will be enough for him to help him develop, should he choose to, in the future. And that will be his choice to make at the time when it is right for him. So he may lose this ability as he grows up, because so many people do. Partly, I think, because we are we have a herd mentality. We want to fit in. We see that other children are not talking to the people that are made of light that are sat beside them. And so we stop talking to the people that are made of light sat beside us. But it will always be there for him, and you won't have shut it down. So just incredible. What an incredible story, and how amazing that such specific evidence getting his name and pointing at him. Just amazing. But you don't need to worry about feeding into it, because he has come here to have a childhood, a normal childhood experience. That's what his soul signed up for. So you can provide him with that and know that he will naturally develop as and when his soul calls him to. Hope that makes sense. Love it. Got a little email here from Andrea, and Andrea says, "Hi, you are so lovely, and what you said makes sense to me. I lost my beautiful mum 8 months ago and just wish she would send me a sign. I felt her in the early days, but she must be busy. Take care, Andrea." And I just wanted to say, Andrea, there's pretty often the way that it always goes. They will pull out the stops to let us know that they are around right at the beginning of our loss. But then as we move forward, they don't bring such a strong presence, because if they did, it would actually stop us moving forward in our physical lives, which is why we are here. So ask her to send a sign. Know that she will be doing her best to get that sign to you. Sometimes we just need to be very vigilant with paying attention to what's happening. And it doesn't mean she's not there, because I promise you that she is. Thank you so much for messaging. It really is lovely. Okay, one last email today, because why the heck not? I've got an email from Sarah. And Sarah wanted me to answer whether I clear my chakras. And the answer to that, Sarah, is no. I think chakras are a brilliant way of interpreting energy, of opening up to an understanding about our energy bodies. But I don't believe in chakras in the way that they are commonly perceived. I believe we are just one giant energy being rather than having energy centers. So they're really useful, because if you want to get a message from your energy body about what's going on with it, you will receive it through the knowings that we have about the chakras. So you might get base chakra needs work, and then you would look and think that's to do with my human life or some healing going on here. Oh, and that would make sense because I've got backache. But I do believe that actually, in fact, the evidence through us is like a big moving vortex that spins around and isn't limited to the human perception of chakras. But in absolute honesty, I'm pretty poor at healing myself generally. I sort of just do it as I go and wait for the shit to hit the fan, and then have a period of time where I'm really, really good, and then go back to being a normal human and being rubbish again. So no, I don't clear my chakras. I don't balance my chakras, because I believe that for the most part, my energy is aligned. And this is the funny thing about energy work. If you believe it, so it is. So when I used to do chakra balancing on people, it was as simple as imagining a beam of light that was the point of alignment through the middle of them, and visualizing their chakras moving into that and clicking into space. But it was purely a visualization. It was just the intention that the energy would be aligned. So if you say to yourself, I have the intention that my energy is aligned, it is, because energy responds to intention. Of course, if you go back to it and start going, yeah, but is it though? Do I feel right? Does this feel right? I feel like this is wrong. Then you're going to get in the way with it. But if you just work in the space where you feel like you're aligned, and you are, then you can maintain that pretty easily. So that's my take on it. And I hope that that makes sense. People love the chakras, and I have no problem with that at all. I love messing around with a pendulum and working out which ones are aligned and out of alignment, but I don't believe in them as a whole picture of our entire energy body. There we go. Another week, another podcast. I can't believe we're in June already. And slowly heading... Oh, well, this is 99, this podcast. So Monday's podcast will be the 100th episode of season 3. And I know there's a recorded message at the end of this asking you for reviews and shares, but please, if you have a moment, it would really, really help me to reach more listeners if you could share the podcast and leave it a review and follow it and all of that shiz. Thank you so much. I'm up to the 8th of May now, so feel free to hit me with your questions again. Email podcast@hannahmedium.co.uk or WhatsApp the number in the show notes. Have a good one.